Hey, good afternoon, evening, everyone. This is Brian Hoops with Midwest Market Solutions, and this is our Market Insider TV. It's our closing segment on Friday, July the 5th. Instead of looking at what the markets did today, there really wasn't that much action today. It was very low volume, kind of a low news day as well. I'm going to look ahead at the preview of the July WASDE report, and that report will be released on Thursday, July the 11th. That'll be released 11 o'clock a.m. Central Time. And as always, we'll be giving you information about what the report has said. But I want to look today at what we think the USDA is going to say, because this is one of the main questions that we get. It's a major report, and there's going to be a lot of confusion surrounding this report, and we'll try and explain best we can. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, and make sure you follow us at our website, MidwestMarketSolutions.com. If you want a quick snapshot of what the markets are doing, you can always pull up our website. We have a market minute right there on our homepage. You can listen to it real quickly. You don't have to use a username or password or anything like that. But it'll give you what is happening in the markets every day. So we record that every morning. All right, let's take a look here at what's we think is going to take place with the USDA. And remember, risk of loss in trading futures is substantial. There's no guarantee that the advice we give will result in any profitable trades, but certainly we do our best. We were founded in 2002, 12 licensed brokers. Reach out to any of them if you have any questions about marketing strategies. And it's just not, I think marketing is much, much more than just about what is this report going to say, because you know, this is a long marketing year. This report's going to probably give us more questions than answers, especially when we talk about the corn and soybean acres. And we'll try and explain some of the confusion as we go into this video commentary here. But let's start with the corn market. Okay, so this is a balance sheet of corn, and this is kind of what we're going to be dealing with. This column here, this column here is the old crop that the USDA gave us. This column is what the USDA gave us in the month of June. So what do we expect here? Now, old crop wise, they increased carry-in, and that's very important. 2.195 billion bushel carry-in is a burdensome amount, and that what they did was they lowered planted acreage to 89.8, almost similar to what they had the year before. And this was down 3 million acres. In the June WASDE, they came out with 3 million less acres than the March planting intentions, and they dropped yields to 166. So another bullish number here, 166. What that did was tighten up our balance sheets. Our ending stocks, instead of being over 2 billion, narrowed them up to about 1.676 billion. And that was, at the time, very friendly. Now, what the confusion comes in at the end of June in the quarterly stocks and acreage report, the USDA bumped acres back up to 91.7. Now, there's two different branches here that are reporting these acreage numbers. In the monthly supply and demand, that's the WASDE report. The June quarterly stocks and acreage report, the acreage numbers, is a NASS survey of farmers, and they went with the farmer survey at 91.7 million. That's almost 2 million more than what they said in the June supply and demand report. So there's a lot of confusion about how many acres we should be using. Now, the USDA came out this week, and a representative said in this report they are going to use the 91.7 million, which I know is a surprise. This 91.7 is probably inaccurate. That's based off of farmer surveys, and it doesn't make any sense why they would use that number and increase acres from the June WASDE report. So I think there's going to be some changes in here, and that's why I put two different scenarios. 91.7, if that's what they use, this is our scenario. If they drop acres to 89.5, this is our scenario. Somewhere, maybe not even in between these numbers is the actual number. It could be more than that. There was a prominent official this week said he thinks it's going to be closer to 10 million acres of corn that's going to go into prevent plant. Of course, we don't get the prevent plant numbers until, I believe, August the 12th, and they are going to do a resurvey of farmers, and that's going to be released about August 11th or 12th as well. So we're going to have a lot of numbers here changing and coming at us in the next 30 days. That's why we've not advocated to make a lot of cash sales, because you just don't know or have a decent handle on the fundamentals at this point. Normally, we know what the acres are going to be, and we have a decent idea of yield, but because of late planted nature, we don't have really any idea how many acres are planted out there. And our yield numbers, are we using 166? That's what the WASDE number was last month. They used 166. So if we use that same amount, that's a 10 bushel an acre drop from trend line and from last year. Probably pretty accurate, but it could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less. We've got a long growing season ahead of us, and some producers telling us that this rain has been excessive on their corn crops, and there's some that are saying this is perfect. We've got very good looking crops. So wide variance this year, but I think you stay with this 166 yield because that's already 10 bushel an acre drop from trend line. And I think ratings and everything has stabilized. Ratings are the third worst in history at this point in time. Not going to improve much, I don't think, this week. And the real variance is going to be what those yield numbers are going to be. USDA could come in July at 91.7. And if they do, you look at these numbers here, our exports probably won't change that much. They're going to be down a little bit because of the higher corn prices. Feed is going to be down a little bit because of the higher prices there. A lot of these numbers aren't really going to change significantly. So if they use the 91.7 and 166 yield, our ending stocks are going to be close to that 2 billion bushel mark. If they come in at 89.5, which is what they did in the June number, June supply and demand report, if they leave that unchanged and we do a 166 yield, then we got a little bit tighter balance sheet. I come in at 1.631 billion bushels, and that's, I think, a little closer to where we're at, but it really gets down to this number here and this number here. These two could change quite a bit, and that will change this number a lot. This is going to be pretty stagnant, maybe down just a little bit, but we're going to have a hard time producing a crop size that's going to meet our demand, because our demand is pretty decent. Our exports are down a little bit from the last couple years. You can see here in 16, 17, 17, 18, and 18, 19, our exports are going to be down just a little bit. But ethanol has been increasing ever since you go back to 2012. We've steadily increased ethanol, and even with the higher prices, we're not going to see much in the way of a drawdown on ethanol usage. Bottom line, I don't think the USDA comes out with a real bullish report on next Thursday. I think they come in somewhere between 1.6, 1.9 billion bushels, and I'm sorry that that's such a wide variance. The estimates are not out yet, but I would suspect we're going to be in a range of 1.6 to 1.9. There'll probably be one or two people significantly less than this, maybe one or two bears that come in more than this with a 2 billion carryout. But I think somewhere in here is what we're going to see on Thursday. I don't think this is going to be the final number. I think that's going to change significantly as we get into the marketing year. Soybeans, if we use the same USDA logic on corn, they have to use this 80.04 million acres that have been seeded. In June, they said 84.6. Last year, there was 89.2. So, really the job of the soybean market was to curtail us from having ending stocks at 1.07. To get these stocks down, you have to plant less acres, get the yield down a little bit. And we did drop the yield 2 bushels an acre from last year due to late plantings. I think you could drop another bushel off of this possibly. As a soybean crop may not be there, but the market is anticipating this rain makes grain mentality. And even if you drop this a little bit, you're still going to have a production number more than what we need to handle. We've got, if we plant 80 million acres, which is what we hope that we see, your ending stocks are still going to be big, over 800 million bushels. This is with a drop of acres and a drop of yield, we're still going to have ending stocks that are burdensome. 836 million would be the second largest carryout ever in history, behind last year. And you can see we only shaved a couple hundred million off of it. We need to drop at least half, if not 2/3 of this off before we can see a significant rebound in prices. So we're making the right headway as far as yields and as far as dropping acres, but it may not matter much. And the big thing for soybeans, we just have too much supply going on here as far as a burdensome. But I do think the USDA makes the correct move in here, and we cut ending stocks, and we should be around 836 million on Thursday's report. As far as wheat goes in here, we don't expect to see much, if any, major changes. Planted acres, I think we have to go with what the USDA said, and that's about 45.7 million. Now, last month they used a yield of 48.7, but I bumped my yield up to 50 bushel per acre average. That gives us a little bit larger production number. The rest of these numbers I think stay the same. This number could possibly be upticked. We're off to a pretty good export forecast profile so far with wheat. Last year we had 950 million bushels of exports. The year before we were at 900. I'm at 900. USDA's at 900. I could see this going up to 915 or 925, if not this month, by August, because of a good start that we're off to. So it's not too many years that we've been below 1 billion bushels. These 2 years we were below 1 billion bushels of exports. Last 2 years actually we were. So we could improve this quite a bit, and would improve our balance sheet a lot. But bottom line, we're going to have a big carryout. USDA is at 1.072 because of increased yields. I'm at 1.1. Even if you bump this up to 925, which I don't think there's any reason they would go more than 925, you're dropping this to, what is that, 1.085 billion bushel carryout. You're still a huge carryout and big stocks to use ratio. So I would look for this report to be bearish. The soybean number should be around 860 or 836 million bushels, kind of a bearish number. And the corn, that's going to be the wild card. It could be anywhere from 1.6 to 1.9 billion bushels, as I would expect it. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We'll be glad to answer them. Thank you for your participation. And if you have any questions, again, reach out to any of us, and we'd be glad to talk with you. Have a great weekend. Brian Hoops, Midwest Markets.